Sir? I've never heard it called that ever in my life.
Dude, are you kidding me? This is like the premier sponsor of you know.
Is that because Joe Rogan had it on his podcast?
Oh no, did
And
he?
well, because Joe Rogan said that monsters make them need to piss, and then Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn said, Monster energy drinks make people want to punch.
Yes. Yes, that.
They're gonna go home and beat their spouse or
Oh
something.
my God. Dude, where are you? I can
Uh,
hear myself.
you can hear yourself?
Scared.
Is it bad?
Not at all, actually. I lied. It's gone. All right, dude. So here's the deal. We got the shower. There was a pain to renovate the shower and like rip off the tile. We did it 2 years ago in our guest bathroom, and I feel like I had a process where like it wasn't hard ripping out the tile. And this one I just like threw out my back. So we finally I was like trying to fix the plumbing, couldn't quite get it without a leak. So we called a plumber and he's like, yeah, since you already have your valve in place and it all set up where I need to be, it's about $1,200. And I was like, have a great day. Get out of my house. Like, what? Last time I did it here, the bathroom's over here behind these mirrors. And so I cut out the drywall and I fixed it, dude. I was like YouTubing it in the wall, had it all tight, but only one of the four areas was leaking. And I was like, I can't sleep at night patching the wall. So I called a plumber on a Saturday night. He came out, soldered it for me. It was like $300 because I called him on a Saturday. Dude, he was plastered, hammered drunk, just beyond belief. Just like I could, just his whole scent was beer. But he fixed it in like 20 minutes. I paid him time and a half, whatever. And then this dude comes in for 1,200. I'm like, no. So that's why I posted on Instagram. I'm stressed. I could do it myself though.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, I
Yeah.
think enough YouTube videos. I'm Mexican, dude.
Enough? You just need one. Yeah, dude. You need one in just call in your ancestors. You'll be fine.
Summon the juices. What are we talking about today, dude? What's this episode about?
This one, do you want to jump into we'll do Sinners. We're gonna spoil everything about it. So if you haven't seen Sinners and care about it and don't want it to be spoiled, just go ahead and just not listen. Skip this one. Go to the next one or go to the previous one
You
and
get a
come
good
back.
3 minutes of Joe Rogan's spousal abuse, domestic violence, and plumbing. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm gonna cut that out so people are like, what is he talking about? Welcome to the Sweet and Condensed Podcast, a podcast by people who love movies, people, and the magic that lives where they meet. Welcome back to another episode of Sweet and Condensed. This episode is on Sinners. Eric and I got so excited that we did not read anything about the movie before we started. Again, we're going to spoil everything in this episode, and here is the description from Letterboxd. Sinners dance with the devil, trying to leave their troubled lives behind. Twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. It is starring Michael B. Jordan, Miles Canton, his first movie, Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaku, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Omar Benson Miller, Jamie Lawson. There's a stacked cast. There's a lot of people in here. Buddy Guy has a role as well. And yeah, it's written and directed by Ryan Coogler, and the score is just phenomenal. The music and the score, the soundtrack, all of it. The score is composed by Ludwig Göransson, who did Oppenheimer. He's well on his way of winning some Oscars, but I hope you enjoy this episode. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna do that. This is the first time us doing we're gonna talk only about Sinners, doubtful, and spoil everything. So in this spoiled episode, Eric, what did you think? I feel like this has been more on your radar because at first it being billed as horror, it came into the world as a horror film, and I don't remember what I said about it. Selective amnesia, but tell me tell me how what this whole experience was leading up to it, and then you and Kelly watching it for the first time.
I do want to say I'm sure Drew feels the same way. Maybe Sarah, if she's on the map this week, but I know Kelly, babe, I'm sorry. I know she probably wants to be a part of this podcast, but we
Definitely.
producers made a decision and said, oh God. Um. Anyways, it was on our radar. We saw the trailer. It looked great. I'm gonna be so for real, and this is so disrespectful to Ryan Coogler. Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and everybody else involved. I almost wrote it off when I first saw the trailer, like not in a bad way, of like oh cool, in the same category as Drop, Companion, Dusk Till Dawn, all these other horror movies that have been coming out. I was like, great, we'll catch it, hopefully in theaters. Like that was my approach to it until about 2 weeks ago when there were like early screenings and there was a lot of hype. This movie is the first movie in a very long time that was just had ungodly amounts of hype and lived up, exceeded it, truly. Like it was after we left the theater. I remember somebody saying on Twitter, just because I'm a whore and I tried to avoid spoilers, but someone on Twitter said there's a scene in the movie, and I'm not going to tell you when, but your jaw's going to be open. And I was like, all right, like here we go. What is this about? I swear to you, like since we're spoiling. Yes, the it's like halfway through the movie, that musical scene where they're going back and forward, just transcending time through black music. I think my mouth was agape, like my mouth was open. You could have put a big old Frank's dog in, dude. I was like mouth open. And we did see it in IMAX. We did go to AMC. I was hesitant. I was texting Josh. I was like, I don't know if I'm being weird. Like, I want to see it in a packed theater. IMAX doesn't look packed, but I want to see it on a big screen. I was being real weird about it. I'm so grateful we saw it in IMAX. It was just like, I don't know, dude. It was my favorite theater experience in a very long time. And in recent weeks, I took Paxton out of school to see Minecraft. He was stoked about it. And I'm not comparing the two movies at all. But that was a fun experience. We've talked about it. If you follow us, Sweet and Condensed, on Instagram, Drew and I had similar sentiments of like taking our kids to the theater for a movie they've been really wanting to see, and how the theater experience is just alive and well for, and it was really fun to take him. But Sinners was that for Kelly and I, and like all of us in the Sweet and Condensed crew. But like we left, just couldn't stop talking about it, thinking about it. Like Kelly cannot wait to get back into the theater to see it again, telling our friends and family about it. I don't know, dude. It was just transcendent. But there's so many things too. Like we were literally crawling into bed, and Josh, I think, how many times have you seen it?
Twice, only twice.
Twice. Twice. He saw it. We were like in sync the second time he
Oh
saw
yeah.
it. All saw it 10:20. Talking on the phone after at 1 in the freaking morning about it. And then just like constantly on social media, seeing the follow up. I'm like tracking its box office because I want just like a big middle finger to the critics and Variety, who wrote an article about like profitability is a long ways away. I'm like, suck a nut, dude. Nobody talks about other movies that way.
No.
Um, some movies are brought up in that discussion of like everything's the box office. I, for years, have been a box office mojo whore for fun. But there's all these articles now about like if it's profitable, how much is it making? And I'm like, dude, suck on that. So now I'm seeing it made like $8 million Monday, another 8 point something million Tuesday. I'm like, suck it, dude. We're headed towards Ryan Coogler being a millionaire, billionaire. Anyways, tell me about your first viewing experience.
Yeah, dude, freaking people lose their mind over Vincent van Gogh. That dude painted like 900 paintings and didn't sell one until the 90s, which he was dead. He was 6
long
feet
gone.
under. He was long gone. And everyone loses their mind over fucking Vincent van Gogh. So all I'm saying is this: it's not all about profitability. Let people make their art, dude. And so this movie, yeah, when the trailer first came out, I was like, no, I'm not watching this, because I thought it was like straight up deep horror, not my speed. And also, I'm sad to admit this, I'm probably gonna get dragged in the streets. Get your bells out. Shame, 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 because I have not seen Fruitvale Station. I have not seen Creed. I have not seen Creed 2 or Creed 3. So the only Ryan Coogler movies I've seen are Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, which I love. They're great. So yes, I believed in Ryan Coogler, but it wasn't a situation where I'm going to watch this regardless of genre, who's in it, and that kind of thing. So, you were stoked about it early on. I think we had it on our watch list worthy back in September of last year in our newsletter, shameless plug. And I remember Drew just giving me shit, being like, Josh, this is going to be the movie, man. I think it's going to be the movie. And I'm like, dude, nope, not excited, not going to watch it. And it was supposed to be released in March 7th, but then got switched with Mickey 17, which Mickey 17 was my more excited one. So I was stoked about that. Watched it. It's great. More cinephile, very artsy. And so when leading up to this, though, what really sold me was Michael B. Jordan with a Tommy gun, dude. I am obsessed. I heard they jam a lot. Don't care. That thing in movies never jams unless it's supposed to and it's important to the plot. But in that trailer, he doesn't blink once, dude. And this whole time, I was like, this dude is lighting up these vampires. I did not put two and
Yeah.
two together though, because in the trailer, it's like daytime-ish. It doesn't look like bright, but it's definitely not night. And he's just laying into these people with this Tommy gun. No blinking, which is very impressive. I don't know if you ever shot a gun before. I usually blink even before I shoot. And then,
Even though they're blanks, like I'm sure they were blanks. Obviously they're blanks, unless they did something else. Like even though he's shooting blanks, that shit's moving. Like
right, right. And so mad talent there. And so then, if similar to you, dude, I got into it because of the hype. I got in because you start hearing all the people who watched it early, all the people on, film Twitter, some, whispers of this movie being unreal. And then there's that David guy who writes for or started the IndieWire, whatever David, the hippo avatar from Twitter. He gave it a 4 star in Letterbox, and he's usually really stingy with his stars. So the fact that he gave it 4 stars, I was like, I think I'm in. I'm ready. I'm
yeah.
sold. Dude, when I say, dude, watching this movie in IMAX that first time, oh my goodness. And getting to watch it, New Mexico Drew was in town for
Oh,
that evening. So we had not gone to the office. Uh all of us have not gone to the office with other people in a very long time. We've done solo trips. I think even you, when you went and watched, which
the
one
one
did you
time
which one
companion
Companion, you had to go solo. And so I know, dude, you're on the docket. You need to do one this month.
this week.
Um this week, dude. Wait, you're gonna do the
It's coming
accountant
too.
too? Um, and so getting to go with Drew, seeing in IMAX because I saw that video. The other thing that sold me was that video of Ryan Coogler explaining. It's super techy, super film nerdy, but it was so rad. Him explaining the aspect ratios, 70 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, all the different sizes. And he had said in that video that for IMAX screens that are not 70 millimeter, it's going to be shown in widescreen with those black bars at the top. But then for selected scenes, it'll go full format the entire IMAX screen. And so I knew, even though it's not a true IMAX like the Lincoln Square Center, whatever it's called out in New York City, I knew I was going to see this in IMAX. Dude, it lived up to the hype. It exceeded my expectations. I am sold on Michael B. Jordan. I thought he was, fine in all those other movies, but this was like, dude, the fact that he gave us similar to Robert Pattinson, like two
Mm,
performances with similar personalities, but they were still different. Like, Mickey 17 and Robert Pattinson, he was literally a carbon copy with slight
yeah.
alterations. Twins, which I know twins are their own individuals, but in the movie they almost move like one unit. Like I loved at the beginning when the way they talk, the way he's rolling the cigarette, he hands him the cigarette, they share the cigarette, he tosses him the knife, he stabs that snake. Like they move together very like unified and as one
Yeah.
part. And there's even that scene, like, when he does, it stuck out to me when is it Stack? Yes, Stack gets bit and dies first, and Smoke goes, dude, he was the best part of me. And so there is this like two parts to one kind of thing going on, but Smoke and Stack had two different personalities, even though they look the same and they talk similar. So the fact that he's giving these dual performances and then almost a triple performance, if you think about him transforming into a vampire and then having to
Yep.
do another version, because that's what I like too. All of them had this like, the vampires had this like tweak to their being, almost this jolliness that was like just kind of eerie and creepy. So anyways, I was sold on Michael B. Jordan. He did fantastic. And yeah, dude, I was like just not expecting so much layers and complexity in this movie. Not that I didn't think anyone had the skill, not that I didn't think Ryan Coogler was capable, but I did think it was going to be this action vampire thriller drama thing. Honestly, I thought it was going to be way scarier, but the most amount of jump scares were like for me in the first like 12
30
minutes.
seconds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the first like scene had a majority of them, and then the snake got me and then a couple others, but dude, but that was
Hey,
the only
Hey, real quick, I was just thinking, I'm so sorry to bring this up. If you've heard any of our conversation about White Lotus or seen White Lotus, you know that's not a show you watch with your brother. This is a movie you do. So
Oh
if
yeah.
if you have a brother, don't watch White Lotus, but do go see Sinners. So,
Or your
um,
lover,
or your lover.
Eric.
I There was something too about, yeah, like you said, there's so many layers. The act, first half of the movie, really, like, the vampire part was sick, but I almost could have had a standalone movie without the vampires. Like, they did such a
Right.
good job, world building, character building, and they had like little teaser of the vampires, which the Native American hunters. That was an incredible scene. That opening shot, which I know it's in the trailers, but on the big screen, like, holy shit, that was sick. It was
Yeah.
Jack O'Connell as Remick. The
Just smoking, like
Dude, so,
theme.
like, that scene was amazing, but the complexity of his character too, in like just a hair of, I'm almost vibing with the vampires. Like, if you've seen the movie, obviously you know what I'm talking about. When he's making his case to the brothers, I don't know. Like, I love. There's just so much to the movie. But back to my original point. See, I'm getting carried away. There's so much to it. But that first half, it's like a standalone drama almost of
Yeah.
the history of the brothers, the town, and like the characters interacting. Like, shit, before the vampires even hit the screen, you're in it. You're invested. You're involved. And so I love the way that they developed every single character. Like, the music, that's a whole separate conversation we can have. But just like the character development, everyone crushed it. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I didn't know Haley Steinfeld was nominated for an Oscar for True Grit.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, like, they had some bruisers in this. And you told me this, I think. Speaking of the Jack O'Connell and Remick as the vampire, like, he's allegedly a villain in 28 Years Later, which I am very stoked about that movie and
Oh
hearing that he's going to be in it. Was it you who told me?
yeah. I read somewhere that he's going to be like a cult leader or something
Oh,
in
love
20
it.
years later.
Love that so much.
Um,
Um, what was like, I don't know, the music was a big thing. We talked about it a little bit after. So tell me, I think you text us. You were like, the soundtrack is reason in and of itself to go. Like, how did you feel in the theater?
oh, dude, the soundtrack was riveting. Like, I think one knowing it's Ludwig. Is that how you say his name? Ludwig. Um, he scored Oppenheimer, and also he has been working with Ryan Coogler for like 12 years, I believe, since USC grad school. And I want to say I read somewhere they were roommates, maybe. Could be another
Mm.
person. Might need to do a fact check on that. But all I know is that that dude is a legend. I know he's produced some Childish Gambino stuff, and so he's just been in all the different spheres when it comes to making music. And just this one being like deep South Delta blues, the you can hear the strings of the guitars or the brass and the it
Oh,
was like, even so there's the playing, the actual music being played by characters in it. You have Delta Slim with his harmonica. You have Preacher Boy with his blues guitar. And what is it? Is it a brass ring? Is that like, 'cause you know that
yeah.
you know the thing where you slide up and down? I'm not a musician. I'm musically declined, but but then even the score or the soundtrack that's playing behind on the film just gets you in the atmosphere and the environment. It was stellar. And I think, to your point too about the complexity of the vampire, I did love, which I'm going to connect to the music here in a minute, but I did love that, like you were mentioning, that they introduce him as this character that is a trickster. Like, he's like, let me in, and he lets him in, and he just eats this couple, right? And converts them. So you just think like, oh, it's a vampire, they're bloodthirsty, and they're just like every other vampire where they just
Yep.
eat humans and convert them and all that stuff. Which, to your point about the Native Americans being there, immediately wanted a spin-off. Like, I was like, we
I
need
want to
this
see him.
movie. Where
Yeah.
is the TV show limited series? Where's the feature film of Native American vampire or yeah, vampire hunters? Anyways, and also to say they built up the lore so good about, like you were saying, the character development of like before the vampires even get there, the way they, like, the smokestack twins, they built this lore and legend of them. Like, when even in the little things where they're like, we need to go do this and we need to split up. And what if they don't even remember who we are? It's like, it's going to take more than 7 years to forget the smokestack twins. And then when they're in town to actually see these people who know them, recognize them, afraid of them, they have power and leadership, but at the same time, there's this, like, they're part of the community. It's not just
Yeah.
like gangster shit, but also community shit, which oftentimes is gangster shit, which anyways, that's a whole other thing. Back to the music though. The development of that Irish vampire Remick, where he set him up as this like villain, just turning people. But then, dude, the way they incorporated the Irish music too, there's this one
Oh my.
scene, full IMAX, it transitions. That's what I love. The music scenes that were like the one you said about you're going through the ages past, present, and future of music, and it goes full screen. When it went to the Irish outside, when after he converted a lot of the people that went to the party, and he's doing that like Irish jig, and everyone's circling and dancing. That music, to your point, I was like, dude, they would have had me, dude. I would have been like, are you kidding me? The vampire,
100%.
you made a great case, and they were outside just vibing, dude. They were jamming, dude. You see Cornbread? He was having a hell of a time in the
Oh,
Irish circle.
see, this I need to see it again. I think I need to see it again too because, like, a Cornbread's is one of those characters. He was in, 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying. I just looked it up.
Okay.
Like, every single character that was involved in some form or fashion outside of, like, being an extra was just unbelievable. The whole cast. We'll talk about Miles Caton, who's made his
Oh, yeah.
debut in this movie, like, unfreaking believable. But that whole cast, like Grace, Annie, Cornbread, Delta Slim, like, it was phenomenal. Like, I loved someone brought up on Twitter, again, why I need to rewatch, when already the group had been turned outside. Somebody, like, pressed Annie that she had used, like, old oil for her fish,
Oh, yeah.
or like and like she forgot all about the vampires and said, "Hold the hell on!" Like
I would
just the
never use
dynamic.
Pixie.
Yeah, see, I'm like, people are dying, and this is what we're arguing about. But that was so much fun. It was like and again, someone on Twitter the other day. Clearly, I spend my whole day on Twitter. I don't work. They said this is one of those movies where I fear the consensus is correct. So for people who love to be different, like this is you can't hate on this movie. There's no weak spots. I feel like so many times we've even had conversations here where this was great, maybe character development here, maybe score here. Is it too long? Is it too short? Like shit, I would have stayed in the theater for another hour. But I don't think there were weak spots. I don't think there was anything missing from this movie. You want more? You want a spin-off? You appreciate the villains, and if you can if you're not watching this, I'm using air quotes. I cannot pick a weak spot, to be honest with you. So like casting crushed. Maybe this is like me being naive, but I appreciate this movie taking place in like a 12-hour span. Not a lot of movies maybe do that.
Right.
Maybe it's like a couple days, weeks, years, and there's, maybe I should look into that more. I didn't do my research on this. I appreciated that so much. It felt like in that intro again, we're spoiling. So that intro scene where you see Preacher Boy come all bloody, and like we didn't have to go back in time. They did storytelling so well through the twins coming back into town that they built on their lore, like you said, without having to travel too far back. We're watching those 12 hours kind of work in real time. I don't know. So
Yeah.
good. I need to go rewatch, like truly,
Yeah.
truly.
Oh, for sure, dude. Because this is one of those movies that I think is a paradox in that, at least for me, my experience was I'm so sad I'll never be able to watch it for the first time ever again.
Yes, movie
While
amnesia, dude.
while simultaneously, I'm like, I need 17 watches to understand what's going on. So it's not even a movie that I can stop after watching the first time. And I need multiple watches, not just because it's amazing, but because I'm trying to experience fully what it has to offer. And I think watching it the second time, because there's no surprises, I'm able to focus and pay attention to
Mm,
different things, right? Because the Irish guy I thought was such a great character, and the complexity of, like you were saying earlier, you almost vibe and feel bad for the vampires because they do their Irish, the deep roots of the Irish community. Me and Drew is mentioning to me that there was a purpose and intent with the Irish because they are an old people as well, or like the Irish like community, the Irish, not state, but you know what I mean, the island.
yeah.
it goes a long time, and then they were conquered or they were invaded by the British, and so there is a kindredness in
Mm.
that sense, even if there is this white privilege that comes with Irish, that yet there's still this like this understanding of what it means to have someone come over and have domination over you or force their way of living, which again I thought was so cool. We were talking on the phone when I didn't notice the first time when they were saying the Lord's Prayer at the end when he has preacher boy in the lake. He starts praying the Our Father, and then the Remnick, the Irish vampire, he starts saying it too, and he says they came in and they forced them to be Catholic. And so there is this like again you kind of feel for him because he does have a conversation earlier in the movie where the vampire's making his pitch. Well, all of them are, right? Because you have Haley Stanfield's character Mary, you have Smoke, or not Smoke, Stack, Michael B. Jordan, who did get turned Stacks out there, and they're pitching their case about, hey, come with us because we're going to bring heaven here. Like we're gonna have heaven
Bring
on
heaven to
earth,
earth. Yeah.
and we're gonna be with each other. And there's so much in that too when it comes to those who are suffering, where it's like the idea of salvation being in the future is cool if you are not suffering in the now. And it's like I'm I'm now. Like we are oppressed now. Like we need heaven here now. And so there's something like appealing to that where again I was like, man, I'm about to jump out there and be with the vampires. But they did just such a beautiful job, especially watching it the second time. About Drew had mentioned that the second time he watched it, he picked up I don't know if you noticed when the reason they split up to get the supplies early in the movie was because they buy this warehouse so they can do their juke, what do they call it, a juke, they're
Juke
gonna
joint.
juke joint, that's what it is. They bought this warehouse so they can throw on their juke joint. And that at later when they pick up their supplies, they're like, if that white man wasn't late, we would be able to do everything we need to do. So he goes, let's postpone it a week. And then Stack was like, no, let's do it tonight.
Yeah.
And when the vampire's making his case, the Irish guy later, he says, hey, that's the guy you bought this warehouse from. They're gonna come and kill you. That's the dragon master of the KKK. His nephew's in our group right now because he turned him. And he goes, so you know what? You come join us. We might go visit him for redemption. So like, there's a
Yeah.
part of me that's like, wait, you're telling me you're giving me an option to like join you, live forever, and now we can go haunt KKK people?
Yeah.
Kind of down.
See, that's it. That's the draw. I First of all, the Lord's Prayer scene was creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that bothered me, but also he said something interesting. And again, like they just wrote his character so well, where he's like something. I'm gonna butcher what he said. It was something about like, although it was pressed upon me, and I hate the people who did this, they still bring me comfort. The Irish guy says that. He's
Uh-huh.
like, these words still bring me comfort, and so it's like so good. One thing I was thinking about was Delta Slim. I think we talked about this on the phone. Delta Slim's character when he was with, was it Stack and Preacher Boy, or was it Smoke and Preacher
Yes.
Boy?
Stack.
And they were driving through the fields, and he was telling a story of one of his friends, and he was describing the pain. The way they shot that scene, where we don't visually see it, you can sort of hear what he's describing, like some screams, maybe some lashings and different things that he's describing. It was so crazy how, as he's talking, he's like visibly upset, and it still hurts him to this day. And he starts groaning and moaning, and I think like Stack turns around. Maybe I'm wrong, but he almost turns around at Preacher Boy like, time to play,
Mm.
and he starts playing, and like how the pain transcended into music. And everybody always has these conversations about like cultural appropriation over music. And for so long, this is just me being honest. I was like, oh, can't we all play music? Or doesn't it make sense that like it transcends different cultures? But it's like some music like this is born from pain that no one else has suffered or experienced. And so where the Irish guy was coming
Mm.
from was maybe pain that, in his opinion, is similar. For other cultures, we may not have. Yes, of course, we've experienced some pain, but it doesn't relate exactly with like that, what Delta Slim was talking about, and what like the Black communities felt. So that's why it feels like that's why it's appropriate. Not feels like, that's why it is appropriation, because it's like
Right.
hey, some of this music was born from pain that no one else has experienced but us, in ways that no one else can understand but us. And I thought that was interesting. And again, I felt so naive for many years when people would bring that up. Is this artist appropriating? Is this artist, you know, it's almost like people talk about Post Malone too, like with rap culture, and now he's just all of a sudden country. Like he used rap culture to get famous, make money. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. But watching that scene, I'm like, this music literally was born from pain that only this group of people have experienced and
Yeah.
suffered through. That I have not and never will.
Right, chattel
Um,
slavery is just I don't even know think there's an atrocious word, a word that's atrocious enough to even describe or
yeah,
to put chattel slavery into. And so I think, yeah, you're so right of like music, often music is born out of a context, and that context is very important. And so I think they did just such a beautiful job of like you had mentioned, they build they're building layers of this. That drive with Delta Slim, he's what's the word, transmuting, no, transform, he's moving his pain and suffering through him through music and singing it, right? And then you get to there was just so much about that I don't understand that I think some friends have helped me see about, like, the importance of black church, not church for black folks, but black church as an entity,
mm,
and black joy. And I used to think like, oh, what is, you know, what does that mean? Joy in a black community? Like, no, black joy is an experience, and there's black church and there's black culture. And so the they did that. There's a scene at the very end where Sammy, preacher kid, is now very old, right? He's like 80 or 90. And then Vampire Stack and Vampire Mary visit him, and he says, up until the vampires, basically, he goes, that was the best night of my life. Was that for you? And he said, yeah, it was the last time I saw my brother. That was the last time I saw that son. And, you know, we danced that night, and we were, for the first time ever, for those 3 hours, we were free. And I think what we were experiencing in that juke joint was black joy, in the sense that they were being affirmed for who they are. They like that context of which they were born out of, that this pain and suffering that no one else experience, and yet they're finding a space where they can laugh, dance, enjoy life, smile. And Drew had such a beautiful, great point of saying, like, if they would have delayed that juke joint grand opening 1 week, the KKK was going to show up literally the next morning and kill them. And so
yep,
that would have never happened. And so it was almost as if that night, that sense of freedom that they experienced and all that joy happened that night because they chose to do that. And inevitably the vampires, you know, ruin the night and everything. And so it's just an interesting, there's so much commentary there. And again, so much that I don't even know. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. There's so many people that can explain this
yeah.
way better than me or even understand it. I don't even think I fully understand it, but I was just, it was so, watching it twice helped me dive more into those things and into those themes and into those concepts that they were trying, that they included. Because again, dude, like you said, there's just so much, like, world that he's put into this what, 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
And I think what's great about it is it causes conversations like this. Like we don't fully grasp it, we can't. It's causing the conversations to be had, but also there's sometimes with horror, it's like elevated horror specifically, maybe presents it in a way that's too much or almost pretentious when certain movies go into like trying to align depression with like what's haunting this family. And I think with Sinners is like my opinion is Ryan Coogler didn't try to speak to people like us who don't understand it. He told a story that resonated with him, and because it was so raw and authentic, right? And the whole Warner Brothers conversation about him eventually owning it, I don't think, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think he compromised his story at all, and
Mm,
it still worked. I think speaking of horror specifically, right? Because there are plenty of other movies that maybe try to talk about certain real life themes or elements or do storytelling that just doesn't work. It doesn't seem to me like he compromised at all, and it's still bringing these conversations to the table, and I love it. I love movies that have so many layers that cause you to want to watch it again, cause you to have these deep conversations, but especially horror because I love horror so much. Like you can watch a nice slasher, watch Scream, it's a good time. There's commentary on horror movies within that. Like, hold on one sec. Someone's with. You do a
What's up?
proper intro?
Yeah, because I forgot we didn't read anything.
We did at all.
So, anyways, no, you're good, dude. Sorry that you had to dip out real quick.
There's no worries. Where were we?
I don't even remember, to be honest.
This is supposed to be a quick 30-minute episode, but that's just the nature of the movie.
The nature of the movie, man. I was just gonna say we could probably talk about we could probably do like 17 episodes on Sinners. There's so much to talk about in this movie, so many layers to it. So I was just gonna say, was there any other final thoughts, or did you have anything else to share before we close out?
I think the big thing I'll say is try your best, depending on when this releases. No, you know what? Forget it. Whenever this releases, go see this in theaters. Like it's a fantastic movie. We'll watch it when it hits streaming for sure. But there's just something about seeing it on the big screen, I think, that it will live up to the hype that we are hyping it up to the level that everybody's talking about. You know, all the reviews are true. Like the Rotten Tomatoes, everything else. Like I say, go see it in theaters as quick as possible. That's my last thought.
I would say the same thing. Like, I believe in the collective watch, that experience, even if they are strangers, even if you're in this theater and you don't know anybody,
Yes.
watching it with a group of people, there's some sort of collective consciousness, engagement, participation with this movie, and it's worth it. It is worth it for this, even if you don't like horror, because it's not.
No.
Even though we're doing this episode, and I don't think anyone would have listened to this or if it made any sense, unless you have seen the movie. So if you made it this far, and yes, you didn't watch it, I second what Eric said. Watch this movie on the big screen.
True.
Watch it in IMAX. Oh, the last thing I would say about Sinners actually is to subscribe to our newsletter and like and subscribe to these podcasts.
Speaking of a bunch of sinners,
And yeah, and just like Sinners, I would also subscribe to our Patreon and give money. If you don't see the movie, it's okay. Just become a Patreon supporter.
unless you want to be a sinner, then don't.
Other than that, that's all. Till next time, take it easy.